Hey guys, it's me again. Excuse me for coming back so quickly today. However, there's something that I do want to address. Um, I just listened to a very lovely lady, um, very motivating, very inspiring, and but there was something in the message that I do want to address, and I wouldn't be so rude as to address it on her page, um, because she's entitled to say her will, whatever she wishes. And I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to say anything is wrong with her message at all. But I do want to address something about the message. So the message was that us spiritual individuals that are content creators, that our content is of a spiritual nature, that you know, showing up means posting content. And yes, posting content is showing up like you show up at a job. You go in and you produce your content every day. Whatever it is that you do. You produce consistently is the point, to produce consistently. So spiritual production is not in the same way as material production, because sometimes showing up spiritually requires that we don't show up in the physical, if that makes any sense. So, spirit can require you not to engage with people for a set period of time. Spirit can require you to go so deep within that you are in bed for a whole day. And regular life requires you to be responsible and show up for your responsibilities. So it makes it difficult for some to produce in an environment that's catered to the material realm only. So when you have a space like YouTube where you can create a business model out of your spiritual practice, the content that you create should not be like a factory, because our spirit is not a product to produce. I hope that makes sense. I don't know how else to say it, but I produce the content that Spirit asked me to produce when it's meant to be shared with a collective beyond my reach. But I'm also called to do work on a very personal, private level with individuals in my personal life, with individuals in my surroundings, individuals in my day to day, like going to a job would require you to engage with people in the physical, to actively be there for others. So Spirit will guide you in terms of when you're meant to be there for others. That could be family, that could be friends, that could be associates, co-workers, lover, whatever, spouse. Spirit will guide you to physically be present for these folks. And you're present for those folks in those moments because something of your energy is necessary for them. You're here to serve, spiritually speaking. And that is giving of yourself, of your time, of your energy that you have for you, for your sustenance, is to share it with another, is to provide for another something that they can't provide for themselves. So that could be your children, that could be your spouse, that could be your family members, that could be your friends, that could be your associates, that could be coworkers, that could be random people that only come into your life for that moment. But you know when you're called to do something for another, but how often do you ignore when God calls you to be there for yourself and you sacrifice yourself for others? Now that could be taken in the opposite direction, okay? See it however you want. It could be one way or the other, where how often do you serve yourself and sacrifice others? There has to be a balance. And I think the spiritual world, I think our practices aren't always meant to be shared with others. Aren't all the messages we receive are not necessarily to produce as a service for others. And that might sound selfish, but there's a timing effect. There's a purpose. When you're really called and it's not of the ego, you trust that when the message is meant to be shared, it's shared. Or you trust that when it's meant to be preserved as sacred between you, it's like you have a best friend or your spouse. And there's a moment between just the two of you. That moment is meant to be sacred. It's for the two of you. It's your moment. You don't spread that around like wildfire to everyone because it's not for everyone. But then there's a moment, like for example, when two individuals decide to bring a child into the world and they're so happy with the news, but they're just called to share that news immediately to everyone and everywhere that they know. Whoever will listen, they will share that beautiful news. Sometimes we're not, we can't see everything, so we don't really know the purpose of timing when things occur or when we're called to do something. You have an instinct to not share, don't share. You have an instinct to share, you share. It's all it is. So sometimes you're called to share and you don't know why, and later on down the line you realize perhaps that that gift you provided in that moment is exactly what everyone around you needed, that joy. Sometimes that gift is meant to be preserved because people are not prepared to hear the wonderful news. And instead of that energy growing, it gets diminished. It gets um, mm, deflated in a certain kind of way. It deflates the power or the potential. And I guess we could talk about how there are people in the world that have learned to play with those emotions in some ways against people. I don't know what that's about really, but um, whatever. I don't even want to go there. Let's just say that please trust your instincts when it comes to your spiritual journey. When you share it with a collective, and I know a lot of readers and astrologers do feel called to share, the cycles as we see them. When we're connected in a certain way that we want to give this spiritual wisdom to a collective in hopes that a collective can receive information that's pertinent to their spiritual evolution. There are individuals that, I guess, manipulate or somehow misunderstand. I don't know exactly what the purpose of holding back is so much when it comes to our spiritual message, but I guess to protect you from unnecessary backlash, unnecessary spiritual attacks of some sort. I think that's everything. I think that was it. And again, it's not to say don't produce content if you're called to produce. I have spurts of moments where it's like I can't stop the creativity. Creative process doesn't allow me to slow down. So I'm just like I will behave like a machine and I produce just like that. Produce. And that's normal because we have our own fluctuations. But don't don't let your spiritual rhythm be boxed into a material system. Keep your spiritual rhythm free from those confinements because that is what diminishes your spiritual power, gifts, essence, whatever you want to call it. So that's it. I'll come back soon.